Hey to you all, this is Andrew Jones, and this is Overall Overtime. And I had the pleasure in an exclusive interview for ESPN Andscape of talking to tennis great James Blake as he goes into his sixth year as tournament director of the Miami Open, still deemed by many as the unofficial fifth slam of tennis, the biggest tournament in the sport outside of the majors. Enjoy the great chat that I had with James, and that chat starts now. James, just wanted to ask you, man, great to have you here right now. And just wanted to ask you, especially this is a day where Novak Djokovic setting the record for most weeks as number 1 today. Just wanted to ask you your whole thoughts of him reaching this whole incredible milestone of 378 weeks.
Yeah, it's tremendous. I mean, it's quite an accomplishment. I remember when I was still on tour, one of the biggest accomplishments I thought of as a player is for anyone to get to number 1 in the world, because it's not something that can happen overnight. It's not something that can happen with one good tournament, one good win. That's a consistency and a level of consistency that's incredibly impressive. So for anyone to get to number 1 in the world is incredible, and then for what he's done. And what we've gotten to see in terms of this era with Serena on the women's side, and then on the men's having 3 of the greatest of all time, Novak, Rafa, and Roger, and seeing them compete for that number 1 in the world. And then for him to still break the record in that era is it's remarkable. And I've been fortunate enough to play him a few times and see the greatness up close. And he's just continued to improve throughout his career, and shown just an absolute mental fortitude to deal with all the highs and lows of his career, and also the fact that he's had a target on his back for almost his entire career. Once you get to number 1 in the world, you've got a target on your back for the rest of your career.
And speaking of someone that, at the very least, when you were in the Ivy League, being the prime player, you was having target on your back, the best player ever in Ivy League history, and being top 5, and again, just being a college player and doing that in the modern era, especially Ivy League, is nothing short of remarkable towards that. Before we talk about even Miami Open and everything, just want to ask you, especially since it's 20 years beyond that Paradon Schiavone victory at the Lake Mason Classic, we just had
Yeah.
the anniversary. Just your whole thoughts looking back on that great first title you had at ATP level in the
Yeah.
capital.
Oh, just so many fond memories of that week. Came off a doubles title the week before with Todd Martin, and then playing there. It was actually the one tournament my coach had to miss because his sister was getting married. So I had just a buddy of mine was that I grew up with, one of my best friends who also played tennis with me, was my coach for the week. And we were just having fun, keeping everything as loose as possible. And I played Andre Agassi in the semis, and that's a tough match. He had beaten me before, and obviously one of the legends of the game, and I was just letting it fly, see what happens, and let the chips fall where they may. And I just came through playing unbelievable. And then in the finals, I definitely felt the pressure, felt a lot of nerves. Sviatchenko wasn't quite the same level of Andre Agassi, but I knew he was a very dangerous player, and he got off to a good start. And it was a tough day, but getting through it, I was really proud, really happy, and just, I mean, a huge, huge relief to get that, to feel like I belonged on tour, to have a title, because I felt like I'd been knocking on the door a few times, and really wanted to get that one. And that was such an exciting week and so much fun celebrating it with my best friend, and we had a great time.
We'll get to the build up towards from that first title to that really incredible career that you had with just that. When I ask you, for you, this is another great year, you being tournament director of one of the great tournaments in all of tennis for so many years that Miami Open has been. Did you ever envision yourself of being a tournament director at any point in your career?
No, I didn't. And I think that's partly by design for most players. As you become so isolated, you're so focused on your sport, on what you need to do. Because for me to compete out there, it wasn't quite as natural probably as some of the other players, but it had to be that level of focus that I was so just engulfed in everything tennis. It's the whole old saying of eat, sleep, drink. I was eating, sleeping, and drinking tennis. That was my life for so long there. So I wasn't thinking as much far down the road. I mean, financially, I was, because I was definitely putting money away and make sure I didn't fall into that athlete trap of just make money, spend money, make money, spend money. I was putting it away, but I wasn't thinking about the career necessarily after tennis until I really got towards the end of my career, and then of my playing career. And I thought, okay, what can I do now? And I thought about a lot of different options. Going into finance, I thought about getting totally out of tennis. And after about 6 months of thinking those ways, it made me realize how much of a passion, once you leave something, how much of a passion I still had for tennis, and how much I loved it. And then got back into commentary, and then realized there was an opportunity there. There's become more of a trend for former players to be tournament directors, because they realize a lot of the tournaments are realizing that it can make a difference. It can really help the experience that the players have. And once we kind of learn on the job as former players about what else can be done to help sponsors, to help the fans, that the media, that there is so much else that goes into a tournament besides the players, then we can be effective. And so I like to think that first year, especially on the job, I was really learning hopefully a lot about the way the events are run. And so I had great help with the IMG team, and that year was Wendy Elkin and Adam Barron. And now to work with Josh Ripple, I've been really lucky to have people that have been amazing to work with, and just learning as I go. But I never would have thought this was a possibility, because I was just so focused on playing, on getting better and improving and doing everything I could to be successful as a player.
I mean, because to be a tournament director for any tournament, even if it was challenger level, has its very unique challenges. For you
Yes.
to be able to do this and have the tournament that a lot of people still feel is the biggest tournament outside of the slams,
Yeah.
it's quite a major step. Were you saying yourself that you were thinking, if you want to be a tournament director, you wanted like something lesser in terms of tournament at first, or was it like, what, I can do this at this incredible tournament right off the bat, and be able to just adjust on the fly?
Yeah, I felt very lucky that when I did it, I didn't feel totally overwhelmed because of the team with me, because of Wendy and Adam when I was first there, and how much they made a difference in kind of letting me crawl before I walk before I run, and get to get through the process of figuring out what I needed to be doing that first year, especially. So I think going into a big event, I think the end goal is you want to have a big event like this. So if I had the opportunity to start at a challenger or start at a 250 and work my way up, I think that would have that may have been beneficial. But I wasn't as nervous as maybe I should have been, because of the people I had in my corner, the people that were really making sure I was going to do a great job and I was going to succeed, and they were going to push me to succeed. So where I'm at now, I love the fact that I'm the tournament director of, like, as you said, one of the biggest tournaments in the world. And obviously I'm biased, but I think the biggest event outside of the slams, and the great community that we have in Miami, and what we've been able to do at the Hard Rock Stadium has been phenomenal. So I'm really proud of it, and I'm happy I got the start that I did, and now I'm at the place where I feel very comfortable running this tournament.
And that's another element, is just a transition from Key Biscayne to Hard
Mhm.
Rock, and you being right in the thrust of that
Yeah.
major transition, as well as just being tournament director for this tournament. Just your level of just seeing how it's really transitioned towards a way where, I mean, now Hard Rock is just a natural fit. In seeing there up close and personal before the pandemic year in 2019, it was really just incredible to see the transition, be as effective right off the bat. Just your thoughts on handling that challenge.
Yeah, well, we were very lucky because we had heard rumors that it wasn't going to stay in Miami, that the event had offers other places, because we couldn't expand in Key Biscayne at Crandon Park. We wanted to. IMG wanted to expand and wanted to keep it there. But when we had the opportunity to move to Hard Rock, and Stephen Ross came in with his innovation and his great ideas to make a football stadium into a tennis stadium, we jumped at it, because we have so much now more space and more capabilities to do what the players want and what can make the fans experience even better. The parking is so much simpler in a stadium that can normally fit 60,000 people. Now we can fit everyone in one parking lot, as opposed to having to take a shuttle over at Crandon Park and sitting in traffic, getting over Rickenbacker Causeway for an hour just to get to the matches. So we feel like there's a better flow there, and it's just, there's been growing teams. You know, the players are now, they used to be they would travel with just a coach. Now it's a coach, it's a PT, it's a nutritionist, it's a stringer, and it's a psychological coach, it's a spouse, it's sometimes kids. And so the teams have become so much bigger that it was impossible to accommodate that at Crandon Park. And we feel very, very lucky that at Hard Rock Stadium, we've got room. We've got not endless space, but we've got a lot of space, more so than a lot of other events, especially other events that are in big cities like we're in with Miami. So we feel very, very lucky. You know, Stephen Ross came through and came up with this idea, and IMG did an unbelievable collaboration with him to be able to make this possible. So it was a bit challenging at first because players don't like change. So when I first announced it, I still remember announcing it and getting booed because some of the players and a lot of the fans didn't want to leave. They know how comfortable they've been at Crandon Park, and it's hard to convince them of any sort of change. And then after that first year, I was completely relieved when we were there, and towards the end, players were saying, "Man, I didn't think this was going to work, and we're really happy. This has been so much better. We're really appreciating everything you've done and how this tournament is working at a new facility."
Because it had, being here in New York and going to see US Open and then the extra activities outside even just the tennis, it had that effect right there, from the whole jump and with the
Yeah.
transition in that whole way. So now it being 2023, another year of having more of the, even though we're still in pandemic, but having that level of dealing with the whole pandemic and still moving towards the whole pre-COVID sense towards it. What any more additions for this year's tournament excite you from just around the grounds, if any, that you what otherwise?
Yeah, the big one is that we're done with the COVID precautions. We're done with the protocols, and we don't have to adhere to anything. It's really up to the players. We're not doing the testing. We're allowing them to do what they want in the evenings. We don't have to have them. I know the one year in 2021 we had to have them really in a bubble where they were only allowed in two hotels and not allowed to leave, and just go hotel to courts, and only had about 20% capacity at the stadium. So that was really tricky. And now to be back, and last year we still had some sort of protocols in place, and now to be totally open, and it's going to feel like a lot of the events pre-COVID, where you've got packed stadiums, you've got people around the grounds, and the excitement is the fact that all the restaurants, all the bars, everything on the grounds is going to be open, all the food trucks. So we're back to the fact that we can have an unbelievable experience, which is what I mean, for when I started, what I wanted was the real tennis fans, the people that want to see the best tennis in the world, they're going to get that no matter where we are. We can play in a parking lot, and the diehard tennis fans are going to want to be there. But what I also wanted to show is that if you're not a diehard tennis fan, if you're someone that just wants to come out for a great day, a day in the sun, go to Kiki's on the beach, go to Dobell, get yourself some drinks, and have some fun. You can do that at the Miami Open now, and not even need to feel like it's all about the diehard tennis part of it. You can just have a good time. I mean, now we've got the gondola taking people back and forth across the grounds, and that was something that I was not sure was going to be was going to be amazing. And it's been such a breath of fresh air to hear people say they love it, and they take the kids up on it, and it's fun, and it's just like a little bit of a break in the action where you just get up there and got a really cool view of the whole grounds. And I think that was also popular during the F1, and now with the F1 stuff going on, it just shows the versatility of the Hard Rock Stadium, is that we can have a NFL game, you can have an unbelievable tennis event, and you can have an F1 race all in one place. And pretty amazing. And that's excited a lot of the players, a lot of European players that are huge F1 fans. They get to, we drive in on the track and they get to say they were riding on an F1 track, which is pretty cool. And, I wasn't a big F1 fan until I saw that Drive to Survive. And now I'm getting into it a little bit as well, but it's definitely pretty spectacular to have that venue. So I'm excited to be back there and excited to see how much more we can do with all of the permanent structures that have been built for the F1 series as well.
Yeah, I covered the F1 event last year, and it was just mind-blowing to see how they made that NFL stadium work in that way in a spectacular form. So with the F1 event, that's something where you feel even more has added to already the great foundation that you already have.
Yeah, and it's amazing because there've been plenty of things throughout these last 5 years or so that I've been nervous about. Like, is this going to work? Are we sure? And they all seem to keep working out. And the F1 was definitely one that I felt like, okay, wait, is it going to be really beneficial for us or not? And last year being the first year it was there was definitely some like growing pains of, okay, who's taking over which offices and which ones are we, where are we going to be, and are they taking over some of this infrastructure that we've built? And now all the stuff that they've built, the permanent stuff we can use, so it can help us to have an extra VIP area or something else that they've done, and it's not going to take away. We've been able to manage working with them. I haven't been in Miami as much, but all the people that I'm in contact with all the time in Miami, they say it's going so much better now with the F1 team. They're all working together. It's a great collaboration. So it's been amazing. And like you said, it was remarkable how they turned it into an F1 event. So that takes a lot of hard work, especially from the operations crew. And ours have always been such hard workers and done a great job. So I know they're able to work together, and it's been fun. It's been, like I said, there's challenges that come with it, but it's been a benefit, I think, for the players, and it'll be a benefit this year. In my opinion, it'll be a benefit even more as we get more and more comfortable with what they need to do to make their event successful, and they can continue to be aware of what we need to do to make ours successful.
It's nothing short of remarkable that, and you being just any tournament director for anywhere, but being for this tournament, and then being someone who is fully proud of being your Black experience and being the trailblazer that you have been as a player outside of even tennis, but being a rare Black tennis director of a whole tournament. Just your thoughts on that, as you have another year of this major tournament that you are directing it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel very lucky that I came after some real amazing trailblazers in Arthur Ashe, Mal Washington, Althea Gibson, and the Williams sisters. And to be a trailblazer, I think it's something that sometimes is given to you because it's just you're just the first, or you're just the second, or you're just in that position that others aren't in. And sometimes you really take it on and you take that seriously, and some take it more seriously than others. Obviously the famous commercial of Charles Barkley, "I'm not a role model," and I think that sparked a lot of debate about what a role model is, because you want to, once you have a voice, once you have a platform, especially nowadays with social media and everything, and people following and wanting to know everything that's going on in any public figure's life, I do think you're a role model because of that. And then it's just what you choose to do with that role model status. And what I choose to do is try to be positive and try to create and affect positive change, even from negative situations. And I mean, my idol, someone I've always looked up to, and someone that really got my dad into tennis, is Arthur Ashe. And I think he's the epitome of someone that took his great performances and what he could do positively to have a positive effect. And then even when something negative happened to him, when he was afflicted with HIV/AIDS, he used that platform to create a fund and a foundation and to help out those that are less fortunate, that were less fortunate than him at that time. And that's why I think our biggest stadium in the country is named after Arthur Ashe. And he wasn't the greatest tennis player from America that we ever saw, but he is possibly the greatest humanitarian. And so for me to look up to him and to know that I came after the hardships that he went through, and it makes me very feel very lucky, and makes it so that I don't want to ever complain about the things that I've gone through, because I know how difficult it must have been for those before me. And then I do hope there are more doors open. When I hear Francis Tiafoe talk about the fact that he looked up to me, and that was part of him getting into tennis, it really does warm my heart. It makes me feel like I did something that actually can have meaning and can promote others. because what the Williams sisters did for women's tennis is amazing. And I think it's really not advanced calculus to figure out why Sloane Stephens, Maddie Keys, Taylor Townsend, Alicia Parks, there's so many great African-American tennis players on the female side. And it's because they looked up to Venus and Serena, and they were true role models and trailblazers. And that kind of representation really does matter. So I did my best on the court, and that's part of the reason why I wanted to be so focused when I was a player. And now I want to be successful after. And I'm doing what I can, and I'm trying to learn every day, and I'm trying to do the best so that, maybe 20 years from now, it's not an anomaly to have a black tournament director, and we can have a few more, and that'll sort of kind of steamroll or snowball into a bigger influence of African Americans on the men's side, as well as it is right now on the women's side.
And that one of the influence for you is a few more questions that I have for you, James, on this.
Yeah.
I was talking to Michael Moe on Friday and having a good conversation with him before he plays in Acapulco this weekend. And one person of IMG for tennis all the way and then some was one Nick Bollettieri, and someone that he obviously was close with, and with his whole past. And just your whole thoughts in regards to Nikki B's legacy and just enduring of a figure, that he just was for anyone to meet.
Nick was someone that I was close with him. I never trained full time at his academy. I went there for a week or two, but he was a presence that was bigger than life in the sport. Everyone knew where he was. You'd see him in the locker room or around a site, and he just put a smile on your face. He had such a positive energy. I got to do a lot of clinics with him later in life after my career when I would just be doing a lot of corporate kind of events. And his attitude to help everyone. He didn't care who he was helping. He wanted to help. He wanted people to get better at tennis. He wanted them to enjoy the sport and enjoy getting better at the game. So I absolutely had so much respect for what he did, because he definitely came from pretty humble beginnings to turn himself into probably the greatest tennis promoter, biggest advocate for the sport. And he did it his own way with his own passion. And the amount of influence he had on so many players is really, it reaches so far. So it's definitely a credit to him, and how many people sent such loving tributes, and it was well deserved, because he had nothing but positive energy and positive influence on so many players' lives. And whether or not, it can be debated whether or not he was the greatest tennis coach, but he was he always did it with a passion, and he did the most with. That's all you can. Yeah. It's all you can do and think about when you're a player or a coach, is you do your best. And he always gave his best, and he had the best attitude in every situation. So he will definitely be missed in the tennis world, but also just as a person. Those events I used to do with him, getting to sit and hang out and have lunch with him, was they're very memorable.
And just the last question, because it's memorable, man, where I never thought that in terms of you being pickleball owner or being commentator or just being like a tournament director, how active you really been, how active you are on Twitter in terms of just expressing that opinion while also having some humor. So what's this? Is this something where this post-tennis playing career, as you alluded to, and how you were thinking about finance, but then had that passion still for you? Did you envision all this?
No, I definitely didn't. And I joke, I've got a bunch of friends around here where I live that say you're the busiest retired guy I've ever known. So I think I need to change from saying that I'm retired to just I've shifted careers, because I still stay pretty busy, and it's just so different. I'm very, very lucky, and I know how fortunate I am that after this I'm gonna be picking my kids up at school, and I get to see them, and I get to drop them off at soccer practice, and I get to be around for a good chunk of time. And I know how lucky I am, but during the day or the other times when they're busy, I'm usually busy too. And that's not what I expected. And again, when I was playing, I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what post-tennis playing career, what life was going to be like. I didn't know how many kids I'd have. I didn't know if I'd have kids and have a family, or what it would look like. I know how lucky I am to have the life that I have, but I definitely stay busy, and it's fun. I don't know what I would do with myself if I wasn't pretty busy consistently, because some of these weeks, some of these times Like during the Miami Open, it is crazy. I'm in the office by 9 a.m. I'm not leaving the site until after midnight most times, and it's definitely it definitely burns me out a little bit. It's exhausting by the end of it, but then I get breaks, so I feel like I feel very lucky that I get to work really hard, but then I get some break time and I get to relax and I get to be with the kids and fully present with the kids when I'm dropping them off at school, when I'm, my older one plays a little tennis now, when I'm dropping her off at tennis and sitting there watching her lessons or whatever. And I just feel very lucky, but I know I'd be going stir crazy if I wasn't at least pretty busy.
And it's just been a pleasure, JB, to have this whole conversation with you, man. Appreciate you,
Thanks
brother.
a bunch. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for watching this edition of Overall Overtime with me, Andrew Jones. Catch you on the next one. Until then, take care. God bless and stay well. And I'm out 5,000.